In this episode, let's have a look at the Aputure Light Storm LS1 LED light. Aputure just released their new Light Storm line of LED lights. They're a great little system. Let's have a look at some of the details here. First, and very important to me, is that they are equivalent in terms of light output to a 1K tungsten light. So that's a fair bit of light, and it's really helpful for situations where you need to, for example, shoot through a scrim to soften the light and use it as a key light. Color rendering is also a really important factor, especially with LED lights, because a lot of the lower end LEDs don't produce the greatest color. That is to say, skin tones will look pretty artificial and other things will take on these really odd colors. But the Aputures do a really nice job. They're rated at CRI of 95, color rendering index. But just at a practical level, I'm finding that they do very, very well for skin tones. When I put up the color charts and shoot them compared to tungsten, they look pretty much identical to my eye. Now, one of the types of lights that I like to shoot with typically is a Fresnel. Fresnels are really nice because you can use them as hard lights. They have barn doors, you can cut the light, you can focus them. While these can't focus, they do have barn doors and they do have a long enough throw for an LED to make them very, very practical. One issue I did run into is that if you mount them on a vertical light stand and you lean the light forward, so to point it down at your subject a little bit, the yoke does get in the way of the barn doors a little bit, so you don't have full mobility on those anymore. However, one thing that I've done to solve that issue is that I mount the light instead on the boom, and I can move the boom to point the light up or down. And then from there, I maintain full mobility on the barn doors. Aputure was very thoughtful in the design of this light from the standpoint that the light head is separate from the controller, which is separate from the AC adapter. Now, some people would say, well, I'd rather have it all in one unit. Well, here's the advantage of having them separate. You can fly the light head, the actual LEDs, up higher, and then from there you connect via cable to the controller. And the controller has a built-in strap that allows you to hang it on a light stand so you can reach it still. And then there is a locking XLR cable that allows you to hook up the AC adapter. So it's really nice. You can have the AC adapter on the floor, you can have the controller where you can easily reach it on the light stand, and you can fly the light up pretty high. So it actually works out pretty well. The connector cable between the light head and the controller is a LEMO cable. So that's a professional grade cable that allows you to snap in, and it won't easily pull out. And so they've done a nice job on that as well. Not only is the controller easy to reach because it is hanging from the light stand, but it's also wireless and has a remote control. And not only can you remote control this light, but if you buy multiple, you can actually put them in different banks and channels and control each of them independently, or bank them together and be able to control them all at the same time. So really, really thoughtful design there. Also, it has a DMX port, so you can control this light via DMX. If you're not familiar with DMX, DMX is a standard that is used for larger lighting designs. So for example, on stages or larger sets, you might have multiple lights. They're all connected via DMX to a light board, and then the lighting director can control each of them independently from there. The Light Storm can be powered via AC using the AC adapter, and when you do use the AC adapter and power the light at 100%, you use about 130 watts, which is really great, which that means you could hook up 3 of these easily to a household circuit. Almost any household circuit, and any household circuit should be able to handle it. So that's a really, really nice feature. Something that you would have to worry about with tungsten, you don't really have to worry about with here. If you drop that down to 50%, you're using more about 35 watts or so, 30 to 35 watts, which also is really nice. And in addition to AC power, you also get to choose whether you want a Sony V mount or an Anton Bauer Gold mount to power this via battery. It doesn't come with a battery itself, but those are two really, really great professional level battery options. In my case, I got the Anton Bauer. I have a small Anton Bauer battery that's a 93 watt hour battery, and hooking this up and powering the light at 100%, I got about 50 minutes worth of powering. And then if I drop that down to 50%, I could get almost 4 hours. About 3 hours and 59 minutes. Color is one of the most important aspects of a lighting instrument, and I've always been a little bit frustrated with a lot of the budget LEDs on the market because they always seem to have some strange color cast that you couldn't even correct with custom white balance, or even if you did a lot of color grading in post. So they were very frustrating to use. Here's an example of one that cost about $300 about 2 years ago, I think it was. And it's a photodiox. I wouldn't judge photodiox based on this necessarily, but this light always was a struggle for me. I could never use it as a key light because the color just was off and the skin tones never looked natural. With the Aputure, on the other hand, I'm finding they always look very natural straight out of the camera as long as I'm white balanced correctly, and all of the colors look really, really true. This light has an absolutely silent design, no fans, which is fantastic for people that care about their audio. This is a really nice feature. Instead, it has a heatsink design on the back with these aluminum fins, and I never found it to get more than warm to the touch, so it's really, really convenient. Also, the light does not appear to flicker when you dim it, and that is a challenge with some LEDs. This one you can go from 100% to 10%, and I didn't find any of those areas where there was any sort of flicker, so again, nice work there. The build quality on this light is very, very nice. The head itself is solid aluminum, it feels like. The barn doors are metal. The collar itself is metal. The only thing that's not metal on the head appears to be the knobs that you use to tighten and loosen both the collar and the yoke, and they are a decent quality plastic. Once you get down to the controller, the controller is plastic, but it seems to be a fairly high-grade plastic, and also the AC adapter is plastic, but again, I don't find it to be lacking in any way. It seems like it'll hold up just fine. For this level of quality, I was very surprised to find that the price on the Aputure Light Storm is running $600 US, and they're just introduced today, so they're available for order. In this particular case, I used the daylight balance model. There is also a color temperature model where you can tweak the color temperature a little bit. You're going to get a little bit less light output from that, of course, but in my case, I think that the daylight balance is going to work really, really well, and I like it so much that I'm planning to buy at least 2 of them. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that, and we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.